Welcome to Raining Acrylics. I'm Hannah Bull, and today I wanted to share with you an experiment involving DecoArt satin enamels. You might have heard of the use of satin enamels in acrylic pour painting for cloud effects. It does produce really beautiful effects, and I did, not that long ago, this piece. It's usually that way up. Sorry about the reflection, I'm in front of a window. And I have recently finished resining this, so it's now completed, fully finished. But I put this on the Smart Art Materials Facebook group, and I had so many questions about how I did it, but I hadn't filmed a video. So I thought, let's do some videos where I actually use satin enamels. What I love about satin enamels is, yes, the cloudy effects that you get, but you also get cells without using silicone. So if you're interested in cells but don't want to use silicone because of the problems with cleaning it off, then satin enamels is a way to go. I also love how with satin enamels, some of the colours end up staying more vibrant. I think it does make colours incredibly vibrant. But I made this near the beginning of lockdown in the UK, and I could not get white satin enamel anywhere. People had been doing lots of artwork during lockdown, so lots of people were buying art supplies, and also things were harder to get hold of anyway. So I couldn't find white satin enamel anywhere. So I managed to find the beige. This is natural beige instead, which is of course an off-white. So I used that instead of the white. So in this piece, I used the beige in the yellow and the blue. So for the pale yellow and the pale blue, I used that. I also used the black DecoArt satin enamel in the black colour. So let me show you again. So there's some purples in here, there's some pinks in here, there's blue and there's yellow and there's black. So the black's got satin enamel in it, so does the yellow and the blue, and it's the yellow and the blue that created the cells. So that worked really, really well. But because I couldn't find the white anywhere, and I also wanted to do some cloud effects where the clouds were actually white, I couldn't use the natural beige for that. So I was sure that there must be an alternative to the DecoArt satin enamels. So I did a lot of exploring online, and it was really hard to find, but I managed to find Rust-Oleum's Painter's Touch. The description on the website for this is identical to how DecoArt describes the satin enamels. They're actually designed as furniture paints, but this is their Painter's Touch multi-purpose paint with a satin finish. So it should be the same. So I want to do a little experiment where I compare the white DecoArt satin enamel, which I've now managed to get hold of, with the Painter's Touch to see if do I get the same results. So that if you can't find the DecoArt satin enamel like me, you could use an alternative. Also, this is a lot cheaper than the DecoArt, so it could be a really good alternative if you want something a little bit less less expensive, and if you're trying to save the pennies. Okay, so I'm ready to get started. Come and join me. The colours that I'm using today are ones I created myself by mixing together different paints from different brands, so it's very difficult for me to tell you exactly what colours I am using. But I've got a pale yellow, a mid-tone blue, quinacridone magenta, a mid-tone purple, pale blue, and an aqua green, quite a pale aqua green. Those have been created by mixing together mostly Liquitex Basics paints and Jackson's Studio acrylics. And I'm going to be mixing my satin enamels and Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch into those colours. But you'll also see on the right hand side dark purples. Those are dioxazine purple, and it's definitely Jackson's Studio acrylics, and they're going to serve as my background colours. I'm not including black in this one. And none of the satin enamels or Rust-Oleum's Painter's Touch is going to be put into that background purple colour, but it is going into all my other colours. Now I'm mixing in the satin whites into all of my colours. The ones on the left have got DecoArt satin enamel, and the ones on the right have got the Rust-Oleum's Painter's Touch. Now it's really important that you don't mix in too much of these furniture paints into your acrylic paints because that will cause cracking. So you need to make sure that it's 30% or less. So I generally mix in 20 to 25% of these satin paints. Now I've got 2 jugs here that I'm going to be adding my colours to, and I'm going to start by adding my background dioxazine purple colour that does not contain any of the satin paints. So I'm going to be adding these colours into these jugs with the Rust-Oleum on the right and the DecoArt on the left. I'm currently adding that mid-tone purple colour, but when I added the satin white paints to it, it turned out pink. So I've actually ended up with 2 very similar coloured pinks, and actually at the end it does cause my painting to have a little bit more pink than I wanted and a little bit less purple. But still think it turns out nice, so don't think it matters. Now for the fun part, pouring the jugs onto the canvas. I'm keeping the DecoArt on the left and the Rust-Oleum on the right. Although I'm trying to compare, I don't actually want the exact same pattern on both sides of the canvas. I think it will look too boring. So I am pouring the Rust-Oleum jug out in a little bit of a different pattern. So I'm kind of doing a jiggle pour with this one. Using a blowtorch to pop any bubbles in the paint and to help any cells rise to the surface. Now my favourite part, the tilting. I just love this bit, it's so much fun. But with cloud effects, the idea is you need to tilt quite a lot. So I am going to have to tilt off quite a bit of this paint, because the more you tilt with cloud effects, the more of the cloud effect you get. Now with tilting, the important thing to remember is to return the weight of the paint to the centre of the canvas before you then change directions and pour it somewhere else, or you get extreme distortions in your paint patterns. So here's the finished result. Make sure you stay tuned to the end where I show you the dry result and talk about the effects that I found with the DecoArt and the Rust-Oleum. Yes, there's too much pink, but I do quite like it. I think it looks like a psychedelic nebula. I particularly like this area in the middle where you've got that yellow, that aqua green and that blue causing that kind of graduated effect. And that's where the cloud effect is most pronounced. I really love that bit. Okay, so here is the finished piece dry. It is a large canvas, so it's really difficult for me to get it completely in the frame. And I have definitely got cloud effects for both the Rust-Oleum and the Satin Enamels. Okay, so this side here, that is the Rust-Oleum, and you can see I have got cells and I have got cloud effect. And then this other side, again, cloud effect and cells. So that's the DecoArt Satin Enamel. I did notice though that I do have much bigger and many more cells on the DecoArt side. I also think that the cloud effect is more pronounced on the DecoArt side as well. So the Rust-Oleum has worked, but it hasn't worked as well as the DecoArt. But one thing I did notice was the difference in the consistencies of the paints. The Rust-Oleum is a lot thinner, I mean a lot thinner than the DecoArt. So if it's thinner, that possibly means it has a lower concentration of pigments and binders. So it might just be that to get the same effect as the DecoArt, you just have to add more of the Rust-Oleum. But that surely negates the fact that it's cheaper. If you're buying the Rust-Oleum because it's cheaper, but then you have to add twice the amount to get the same effect, then you're spending the same amount of money and you might as well just use the DecoArt. Also, I much prefer the container that the DecoArt comes in. They come in these lovely plastic pots with a screw lid. So when I've finished with the paint that's in here, I can actually reuse the pots to store mixed up paints. They're really, really useful. Whereas the Rust-Oleum comes in this tin with one of those lids that you have to prise off, and then I have to hammer it to get it back on. So I'm not a fan of these containers. Also, this one smells a little bit, slightly fishy, just a bit, but still. So the Rust-Oleum does work. If you cannot get the DecoArt Satin Enamels, then try using the Rust-Oleum. But for me, I'm going to be sticking with my DecoArt Satin Enamels. They work really well. You don't have to use as much of them to get the same effects. Much prefer the containers. So that's my opinion, but I would love to know what you think. I'd love to know what you think of the final piece. I would love to know if you've tried using Rust-Oleum, and I'd love to know what you've managed to do with effects to do with DecoArt's Satin Enamels to give me some more ideas of what I can do next. And if there's something else you would like me to try with cloud effects or any comparisons that you would like me to do, then please just let me know by leaving a comment below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing. Goodbye for now.